Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here for Washington University's Olin Business School third industry seminar series. Today, we are going to be focusing primarily on accounting at Olin, and we're going to do this at the graduate level from a variety of different resources that you'll be able to experience. We've previously talked through this industry series about finance and marketing. Moving forward, we'll also have the opportunity in future webinars to learn about consulting, supply chain management, and also entrepreneurship. More details about this can be found on the website, and we will also have some information at the end of the session, so please keep an eye out for that too, and hopefully you can join us to see what else we have to offer. My name is Megan Waite. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions here with the Olin Business School. I do work primarily with the full-time and the professional MBA program, and I'm also a recent graduate, a December 2016 graduate of the professional MBA program, so we're happy to speak to anybody via email after this about that student experience as well. So before we get started, I'd love to start with a few housekeeping rules. So I want to make sure that everyone is set up to enjoy this presentation, and as such I have muted your microphone so that we can reduce a little bit of the background noise, but if anyone is having trouble hearing me, who you should be able to hear during this process, please use the raise your hand function or send a chat box message so that we can help you as best as we can. We will be taking questions at the end of this presentation, but feel free to leave any questions you have as we go through the content today in the Q&A function at any time. If you can't find that, you're having trouble locating it, you can also use the chat box. Any questions that are relevant to the greater group, we'll make sure that we share with everybody. If we do run out of time, if there are a lot of questions, we will certainly get back to you at a later date via email. So make sure, as long as it's not anonymous, as you post those questions, that we'll be able to reach back out to you and answer those accordingly. If it's something that is more specific to your individual circumstances, again, that's something that we'll communicate to you directly just for the essence of time today. Great, so let's get started. We'll start by going over the agenda. We will be looking firstly at the program offerings that we have here at the graduate level at Olin Business School that pertain directly to accounting. We'll be looking at the research that is offered here and some of the highlights there to share with you. We'll take a look at some of the experiential learning opportunities that our students have available to them. We will look at any additional resources that are specific to the accounting field or that may slightly be related to what you are interested in doing in your future. The career opportunities as they are specific in that accounting space, and then also student organizations that are affiliated with accounting, and then touching a little bit into some of those fields that run in tangent to that. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about St. Louis and how that St. Louis landscape might be able to help you in your career path. Starting with the programs that we have here, we do have a Master of Accounting program, so that one is pretty easy to explain as far as what you might like to expect from that. It's a 3-semester program. However, we do occasionally see students that are in the program that are able to speed that up and complete that in 2 semesters. People in that circumstance usually have their undergrad in accounting from a U.S. institution to be able to move through that material a little bit faster and align a little bit with the hiring cycle that they have with the Big 4 accounting firms. That's certainly something that we can go into more detail with for those that might be interested at a future date. Initially, this was a degree developed for students that were needing to meet the 150-hour rule that is present in many of the U.S. states to be able to sit for the CPA. So if that's something that you're interested in, we certainly have this as an offering for you to be able to complement any undergraduate experience that you might have. In addition to that, we also have some Masters in Business Administration or MBA programs. There are 3 different formats for this program. The full-time MBA, which is a 2-year traditional format. We have a professional MBA, which can be completed as quickly as 2 years and take as long as 7 years, just depending on your preferences, and that's a part-time format. And then we also have the Executive MBA, which is a part-time format as well, but more tailored toward a residential component. It's a little bit more lockstep than the part-time professional program and is catering more toward those that are in upper-level management or executive positions already. So while we do not have a formal accounting platform in the MBA programs, you can certainly concentrate in accounting and be in that subject field of expertise through the PMBA, so the professional MBA and the full-time MBA. It really is going to be more effective and beneficial for those that perhaps already have working experience in accounting and are looking at using the MBA as more of a general management degree so that you can continue to grow in your position as an accountant, looking more at critical thinking, looking at strategic management, and then looking also at organizational behavior and how you can manage individual people. So moving on to the research that we have here, we actually have this wonderful opportunity to be in partnership with Wells Fargo Advisors. Wells Fargo Advisors Center for Finance and Accounting Research was established in 2007, and we use this as the catalyst or focal point of a coordinating body for research in finance and accounting at WashU. They do hold seminars frequently throughout the year with industry and academic experts to talk about what it is that they've been working on or their experiences that they're having in the industry. We also have, specifically for the Master of Accounting program, a mentor program that is allowing those students in the program to be paired with industry experts, typically either alumni of the program and preferably here in St. Louis so that you can have that face-to-face connection as well. Now, we are a research institution here at Washington University, so I do want to add some information here and two examples of some of the research that's currently underway with our faculty. We have one here talking about, by Jared Jennings, are better forecasters better borrowers, management forecast accuracy and the cost of debt. And then from Thuy Minh Martin, we have internal information asymmetry, internal capital markets, and firm value. So those are two of the examples of the research that's being done by the top-notch faculty that we have here on campus. I will also add, you can see the co-authors there from a variety of different schools, and that is because we do value the collaboration that's available across the country and then also across the globe when it comes to the ability to be more constructive in research and have a variety of different stakeholders involved in what kind of knowledge is being brought to the table. Moving on to our experiential learning, the majority of our experiential learning does occur through our Center for Experiential Learning, which is specific to our Olin Business School. We do have practicum projects available, and these could be done through for-profits, non-profits, family businesses, and even startups. You do need to apply to these different programs, but you do get credit for most of the work that you do, and it's real-world experience that you can put on your resume. So if you're coming into, for example, the Master of Accounting program, and this is you coming straight out of your undergraduate degree with maybe 1 or 2 internships, if any, this is a great opportunity for you to be able to talk in detail in interviews with companies about the experience that you have and how you've applied what you've learned in the classroom with real companies that are out there. We also have a financial metrics for startups, which is very popular with our finance and accounting students. And in addition to that, we also have what's called the United Way Board Fellows Program. And while this is not available to our Master of Accounting students, unfortunately, just because of the time it takes to be in this program, I will mention it as something for those looking at the MBA program, because it is a 1-year program that you can do where you sit as an active board member on a nonprofit board here in St. Louis. It is any of the nonprofit organizations who would like to apply that are a part of the United Way agency nonprofit system. And it's a great way for you then also to work on a one-to-one consulting project. Oftentimes these do include accounting projects for you, so I wanted to make sure that that was a mention in there as well. For the majority of our students that are looking at accounting projects outside of that United Way Board Fellows program, the Taylor Community Consulting Program is the group that works with team-based consulting projects for our students with nonprofit organizations here in St. Louis. And we're going to talk about 3 examples of those experiential learning projects today, just to get you a little bit of a flavor of what you might be experiencing or expecting to experience once you're in the classroom. So the first one we're going to talk about today is called Provident. And this agency has an incredibly rich progression in the history of St. Louis since 1860. Its first large initiative was to care for widows and orphans as a result of the Civil War. So we're going back quite some ways here. The Urban League and Visiting Nurse Association also began as programs of Provident, and it was one of the founders of the Community Fund, which was the precursor to the United Way of Greater St. Louis. Provident leaders were also instrumental in creating the School of Social Economy, and that's pretty cool because that is actually known today as the Brown School of Social Work here at Washington University in St. Louis. And so Provident has a lot of significant ties to our community here, not just in the St. Louis area, but also on campus. The company has, or rather the organization has, continued to develop their mission based on the needs of the community here, and they're known today more as a premier mental health resource, serving over 40,000 youth, adults, and adult ex-offenders each year through mental health counseling, crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and also after-school programming. So the project, to get it into a little bit deeper here, I'll let you know students were tasked with answering two questions. The first question was, what is the social return on investment for each of its programs, and how can it best demonstrate outputs and assign a dollar value to those? The second question was, how do its services save the community as a whole? And so while this touches not just on accounting, it also touches on the greater strategy and understanding of the landscape of what the organization is trying to do. The second organization that I'd like to talk about today is called College Bound. This is a nationally known college access and completion CBO based in St. Louis. In 2013, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation actually invested in College Bound to create what's called Bridge It to College. And that's an online, mobile optimized software that helps students with the transition from high school into college, and especially focusing on those at risk for summer melt. So the project we had here was, again, a bit of a hybrid, but it focused on marketing, finance, and the accounting aspect, where the team of students identified the target market, evaluated the competitive landscape, but also evaluated College Bound's model for making money in the short and long term in order to remain financially stable as they tried to scale their business. And so a big part of that cost accounting class will be coming into play there. And then thirdly, I'd like to talk about St. John's Community Care. So since 1985, St. John's Community Care has been serving thousands of aging and disabled adults in the Metro East area, which is actually on the Illinois side, but still considered part of the St. Louis metro region. Their mission is to help all affected by the challenges of aging and disability, and that includes clients and caregivers. An outreach ministry of the St. John Evangelical United Church of Christ, the St. John's Community Care offers solutions and resources for the care, support, and challenges that face the growing segment of the community. The project that the students worked on in this specific team effort was a component relating around strategic cost accounting. The questions posted here were how the organization can measure its health by identifying the most important financial, operational, and marketing metrics. They were also wanting to consider which ones of these would communicate the most valuable information. So when talking to prospective donors and those in the community that are wanting to support their organization, they wanted to get a better understanding of whether this cost analysis or financial analysis, operational component, or the marketing metrics would be most valuable to those stakeholders. So that's just some examples of the accounting projects that you can do. The Center for Experiential Learning does have a lot of other opportunities to engage, and they're not all necessarily tied to accounting. As an accounting student or somebody who's interested in accounting, you could still also select other opportunities to be a participant in some of those teams that don't necessarily have to associate with the accounting space. And so that could include those interested in maybe a hybrid with finance, or somebody who's just wanting to get a different pulse on something like marketing to be able to round out some of their experience here on campus. Some of the additional resources I wanted to mention to you if you are looking at going into a career in accounting would include some of the guest speakers that we have here on campus. We have excellent guest speakers coming in to speak oftentimes from the Big Four companies, small to medium-sized firms in accounting, and then also a lot of corporations that have in-house or internal accounting departments that speak about their experience, their knowledge, their expertise, and give you an opportunity to network with those that are already where you would probably like to be with your career in the next 5 to 10, maybe even further out number of years. I'll also mention in particular here the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, commonly known as Waite. This is actually a 4-credit class that can be taken as an elective, and it's a great opportunity for those that are interested in giving back to the community by helping helping people in the St. Louis community do basic tax returns. And it's great practice for you as well to be familiar in that space. If you are looking at this as a volunteer for credit, then you would also need to have some minimum requirements there, but otherwise you can take as much time or as little time as you like to be dedicated to that organization and dedicated to that program. In addition to those guest speakers I mentioned before, we have industry advisors. Now, our West End Career Center is specific to the Olin Business School, which means that they're dedicated to those looking at having a career in business. All of those advisors come from a background in a variety of different spaces, a variety of different business industries, and then functional areas as well. And we have an excellent advisor down in the Career Center, just below me and where my office is located, Margie Beck, and she actually comes to us through EY. So she's got some great experience there in the accounting side and then also in the talent recruitment side as well. So when it comes to looking for advice on how to tap into those Big Four and what they're looking for, she's definitely a great resource for you. And we do have academic directors that are focused in accounting. Excuse me, in addition to just those that are working as teachers and researchers in that space, our faculty also have a lead, Professor Sozek, that focuses also on the Taylor Community Consulting Program and then is the academic director for the Master of Accounting program. Professor Sozek will become a great resource for you here for all things accounting and can certainly help you to navigate what this might look like for a career trajectory for you. And then finally, I'm popping over to the other side of the screen again to the case competitions. While the majority of case competitions don't center specifically around accounting, I wanted to mention this because you do get a lot that are around, say, cost accounting or finance. And so from a financial standpoint, I think that there's a lot of synergy that can be had for those that are looking to go into accounting, depending on what kind of role that you're looking to focus in. So I mentioned earlier that when it comes to the students that are really looking at accounting, we typically find the majority of those in our Master of Accounting program. So I have included those employment statistics for last year's class in there, in addition to some examples of some accounting firms or companies that have hired our accounting students at the bottom of the screen as well. I haven't included the MBA students in here because, again, a lot of those are moving from accounting into upper level management or into consulting roles, using their expertise in accounting. So it doesn't really convey how many exactly would be going into that accounting space. So just to make you aware of that, it doesn't mean that those MBA programs can't allow you to be successful in an accounting career. And then moving on to our student organizations, this is a way that you can have some great opportunities for leadership. And we have primarily for accounting the Beta Alpha Psi chapter that's here on campus. It was actually started by one of our International Master of Accounting students a few years back, and they've done a great job to really be able to build that into something very successful. So as an accounting student, that would be one that I would definitely recommend. But in addition to that, I also wanted to share with you a couple of other clubs that may be of benefit to you. Olin Technology Club, I know there is a lot of synergy with technology and big data as it relates to accounting. So that is something that I put up as a bit of an honorable mention. And then in addition to that, the Olin Finance Club as well. So all of these clubs will be bringing in opportunities for you to network with like-minded students and industry professionals, and they arrange guest speakers and road shows to a variety of different spaces as well. So definitely make sure that you tap into those, become a member, look at leadership opportunities once you're on campus, and see how you can best engage with your classmates and those that come to campus as representatives with those organizations. Now, looking at St. Louis, I know that some of you are probably not from the area and some of you may be familiar with the city in itself, but I wanted to share a few fun facts about St. Louis as they might pertain to you looking for a career in the area. And so St. Louis is home to 9 Fortune 500 companies. In addition to that, we also have in a total 18 Fortune 1000 companies. So there are some great companies that are headquartered here, based in St. Louis, and that we have very strong partnerships and relationships with as a university. We were also recently ranked one of the top 5 fastest growing cities in the United States for startups. And then we also have a presence, while relatively small compared to some of the larger cities in the country. We do have all of the big 4 present here in the St. Louis area as well, although we find a lot of our students in locations that are spread around the world and around the United States as well, from east to west coast, just depending on what it is that they're looking to target. So that leaves us at the end of the information that I wanted to share with you at this point about accounting at Olin. But it also leaves you probably with a question of, great, well, this is awesome, but what comes next? So I wanted to share with you some of the upcoming events that we have. And we have an MBA Women's Weekend and MBA Diversity Weekend coming up pretty soon here. And that information can be found on our website. So if you look at the bottom left-hand side of the page, you'll see, or the screen rather, you will see olin.woostel.edu, which is our website, and our events can be found there under the different programs that we have. In addition to that, you can also come for one of our campus visit days. We just had a great group here yesterday. We have our next one coming up November 16th. This is where you would be meeting with an admissions representative from our Career Center, somebody to talk about financial aid, and then you'll also be joining the students for either a coffee or a lunch and a classroom experience as well. That also can be found on our website, and you can go ahead and register there for any more details. Another alternative for you is that you can speak to a recruiter about any of the programs that we have here at the graduate level. I have an email also at the bottom left-hand side of your screen for Olin grad admissions at woostel.edu. And that's a great way for you to be able to contact us with any questions that you might have about the application process, about the programs themselves, any opportunities for you to be able to connect. We can chat with you by telephone and arrange for your recruiter to speak with you, perhaps even by Skype if you're coming from abroad, but please reach out to us so that we can continue to stay engaged with you. Before I go into the webinars on the right-hand side as well, I will say if you have any questions, feel free to start writing those in the Q&A box so that there isn't a delay or some fun, awkward pause at the end of this. But we'd love to be able to answer any questions that you might have. And as I mentioned earlier, if there's anything we can't answer at this point in time, feel free to add that in there and just make sure you haven't got that as anonymous on your marking so that we can certainly follow up with you by email at a future date. Moving into those industry webinars, I just want the friendly reminder out there for those that maybe haven't decided that accounting is exactly what they're looking for. We do have the consulting at Olin, supply chain at Olin, and entrepreneurship at Olin. On the right-hand side there, those dates are listed. Similar to this one, it will be recorded, so if there's anything that you miss or you're not able to join, please still register with that, and we'll send you a recording after, usually within a week after the webinar is actually live, to be able to provide you with some more information. And for those that are already in the application process or getting ready to be in that application process, make sure you take a look at how you're financing that career or that graduate education. There is an international student financial aid or financial services webinar that will be happening on November 15th. Then we also have one for U.S. citizens and permanent residents on November 17th. Of course, you're welcome to join both of those. Just know that the information may be different based on how applicable it is to your circumstances. So that wraps up everything that I have at this point in time for you. But if there are any questions, we have a few moments here. You're welcome to add those in. If we don't have any questions at this point in time, congratulations, you do get an early mark today. And be sure to know that we will be following up with you as soon as we have that recording processed to be able to share this with you so you can reference it at a future date. Anybody who's also interested in finance, but perhaps wasn't able to join that particular webinar, or anybody who was interested in marketing and wasn't able to join that webinar, please also email the Olin grad admissions email address at the bottom of the screen, and we can make sure that we get those recordings to you as well. So it looks like we don't have any questions at this point, so I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We greatly appreciate you joining us. I know for some of you it's likely the middle of the night and not the best time to be hanging out for a webinar online, but we do appreciate your support, and we certainly wish that we can help you in the future with that graduate degree that you're looking to pursue and help you navigate that application process on the way. So thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you on campus very soon.